Let's talk about carbohydrates, and I want to talk about sugar because, like I said in the book, sugar needs a new PR firm. Their public relations is terrible, and they're getting blamed for a lot of things. Sugar gets blamed for so many things that it has nothing to do with. So real sugar gets the job done. So let's really define what I mean by that. So let's talk about complex carbohydrates. Okay, so complex carbohydrates are our grains. That's, and even some vegetables. Tubers are complex carbohydrates, right? So complex carbohydrates. Why are we saying complex carbohydrates aren't great, and why are we saying simple sugars are better? It really all comes down to blood sugar. As I said in the book, we want carbohydrates to deliver glucose to the cell in the most efficient way, and we want it to be sustainable. And so the thing about complex carbohydrates is it converts into pure glucose, like I mentioned in the book, which has the highest glycemic index value. So it's 100. So you're going to get a fast raised blood sugar, and it's going to continue. And that's the real key. It raises blood sugar and it continues to. So it may take a little bit longer because it takes a little bit to break down a complex carbohydrate. But once that pure glucose goes into the system, it raises at a continuous rate, right? Which can lead to large drops in blood sugar levels, okay? Because it just keeps going, it eventually falls off. And that's essentially this graph here. So it's just this kind of linear, straight up, and then boom, crashes. And there's a strong insulin response because of that continuous rise in blood sugar. And that leads to sluggish weight gain, fat storage, high stress, low energy, and irritability. This is what a lot of the articles that I referred in the book, Ray goes into great detail about this for sure. When it comes to simple sugars, it's a different story. Simple sugars, as I mentioned in the book, converts to glucose and fructose. So the glucose is high glycemic, fructose is low, 12. That's what makes up the molecule sucrose, which basically puts us at about 63. So we get a much more optimal level of delivery of glucose. It raises it much faster. You'll get there faster, but then it balances off. Okay, and that's where the some of those values that I showed you of glycemic index test blood sugar level blood sugar levels 2 hours after, and then I showed you what it looks like 4 hours later. And so when you looked at some of the fruit, yes, it might be higher in the first 2 hours, but after 4 hours, it's actually lower than complex carbohydrates. And that's essentially because it's not as steep as a spike. I mean, it's a little steeper spike, but then it balances off. Okay. And optimal blood sugar, mental clarity, calm energy, restful sleep, and just general happiness, right? Contentment, right? Because we have the energy. And so this is the big reason why we are recommending simple sugars. It's because it gets glucose to the cell in the most efficient way, period. Okay, now let's define what real sugar is, because like I said, sugar, this word sugar, is being thrown around out there, and I honestly don't even know what people mean by it anymore. So when we refer to sugar, we're referring to these things, foods with real sugar, okay? So we're going to define what real sugar is, not this idea of sugar that lives in the world, right? So foods with real sugar: fruits, dairy, tubers, honey, cane sugar, real maple syrup, okay? So when we say, if you came to our house and you saw what we ate a ton of sugar, okay? We eat a ton of sugar. We eat a lot of fruit, a lot of dairy, raw dairy, which I'll talk about in a little bit. We eat those tubers, right? The potatoes, carrots, all those different types of vegetables, tubers, honey, so much honey in our house. We have cane sugar in our house. Yes, the white cane sugar, and real maple syrup. So we eat a lot of sugar, but this is what we're eating. Okay, now, where sugar is not the problem, where sugar is getting blamed, okay? So where sugar is not the problem, but gets blamed, okay, is not sugar, okay? So even this picture here, you see sugar, and it's got all this stuff here, okay? And it shows this white powdery stuff. I'll tell you that if you actually get these sweets, we'll just call them the category of sweets, there's rarely any of this in there. Like, you're not going to find a lot of this in there. Okay. When we pick up something, and I actually talked with Eve about this before I created this, I said, sweetie, what do you look for when you pick up something? She's like, oh, I just look for cane sugar. Okay. If it's got cane sugar in it, then I'll get it. It's not easy to find things that have real sugar in it. They have all kinds of other things. So what is the problem? If sugar is not the problem, what is the problem? Okay, because when you actually pick up these things, like these things that are pictured here, among a lot of other things that sugar is being blamed for, there is no cane sugar in this. There's no honey in it. What is in it though? Fake sugars. Okay, a lot of fake sugars, artificial sweeteners. That's what's in there. That's what's causing the problem. Is that we're putting things in there that taste sweet, but actually isn't sugar. And the amount of artificial sweeteners out there is off the charts. High fructose corn. I mean, it's crazy. But that's what's in there. What else is in there? Chemicals you can't even pronounce. I mean, I looked up the ingredients of a Krispy Kreme donut just for fun before I did this. I swear to you, I could pronounce maybe three of the ingredients. It was literally just chemicals, and I don't even know what. Right? And we're blaming sugar for chemicals? Like, what? No. The problem is we're eating chemicals, right? What else? All kinds of oils, okay? And all of these things that we are calling bad for us, like sugar is bad, all these pastries or whatever else, you have this idea that sugar is bad. I promise you there's all kinds of oils in there. Vegetable oils, canola oil, safflower, all that cheap oil that we talked about previously. That's what's in there. That's what the problem is, not sugar. What else? Fake fats all over the place in these things. Carrageenan, gums, more chemicals, more things to make stuff taste fatty, right? To create the illusion of something fat, which gives it taste. Okay, but there's no fat in this, zero fat. But how does it taste fatty? How does it taste creamy? Okay, well, because there's fake fat in it, right? And flour. Flour is the other thing that lives in all this stuff that sugar is getting blamed for. All right. And so this is why I say sugar needs a better PR agent. Okay. And it's gotten so bad. Sugar's gotten blamed so bad that there's now people out there that are saying you shouldn't have fruit because it's got sugar in it. Oh, you shouldn't have dairy because don't have honey. It's got sugar in it. Oh, maple syrup, sugar. It's just like, oh, yeah. We once again, we're hitting the bullseye on the wrong target. This is not the problem. This is the problem. Okay, so start to distinguish between the two. Okay.